In this week's the news, the NZSIS raised warning bells about national security. Climate change in action threatens the country's international standing. New Zealand's first military espionage conviction, and the surprising omissions from central government that they consider not to be core services for local government. All that and more on this week's the news. Hello there, kia ora, welcome to This Week's the News. I'm Paul, and I'm not sure how happy clams are or why we compare our happiness with theirs. This week, a report from the NZSIS on the current national security environment hit with calls that the current situation is the toughest it's ever been. The report highlights a range of issues around national security, including foreign interference built through personal, business, and sister city relationships, the ease of access to harmful and hateful online content for young people that can lead to radicalization, and public figures promoting and seemingly endorsing ideologies which normalize radicalization, said a spokesperson for the coalition. I'm sorry, you can't talk to an MP at the moment. The Foreign Affairs Minister is meeting with that advisor that made the news for all of the conspiracy stuff and Jacinda threats he posts, while planning on vilifying another Rainbow MP. The Deputy Prime Minister is busy collecting donations from people who wanted to blow up mosques while making jokes about the Ministry of Pacific Affairs, and the Prime Minister is meeting with friends of Shane Jones and Casey Costello, who helped write our policies that deliver on their specific interests. Court action is beginning this month as 5 unions join forces over pay equity changes, arguing that they breach the Bill of Rights. The unions argue the decision and the process leading to it breaches 3 fundamental rights: freedom from gender-based pay discrimination, the right to natural justice, and the right to fair legal process. The Ministry of Workplace Relations responded with a statement saying that the change was signed off as not a breach of the Act by the Attorney General's office. And because that's what we want to hear this time, we're going to agree. Not like when she said it was disenfranchising voters or gang patch bans were going to be breaching that same act. Public Services Minister Judith Collins, seen here when somebody reminded her husband is Samoan, so talofa, admitted this week she got teacher pay rates wrong when claiming the average teacher salary was $140,000, while also claiming teachers were actually upset at her because she let the public know the truth in a stand-up where she admitted that she was wrong. The ACT Party, from their official Parliamentary Services-funded Twitter account, has continued attacks this week on local authorities putting out public information on Māori wards, how they work, how they create a better decision-making process, better treaty partnerships, and a more inclusive democracy, by complaining about the waste of ratepayer funding to put out messaging on a referendum, forced on it by the current government, costing local councils tens of thousands of dollars. Said a representative for the ACT Party, "No, I don't know what the definition of ironic is. Why do you ask?" Winston Peters, seen here listening to the drinks menu being read, this week made the surprising announcement of ending the Irish ambassador posting of Trevor Mallard early and replacing him with a trained diplomat. Peters claimed that the carnival was over, specifically mentioning that this was a type of retribution for Jacinda supporters, which is a clear dog whistle to his most conspiracy-fueled followers whose hatred of the former Prime Minister could power the Sun. Said Peters, "We need to stop putting inexperienced politicians in decision-making seats. They're easy to manipulate. They make mistakes and seem to be ego-driven at the expense of others." Oh, hey, Prime Minister! Officials at the Ministry of the Environment warned the government that reneging on climate change commitments could create a domino effect where the move was used to justify larger countries' moves to pull out of climate change commitments and harm a number of our priority international relationships. New Zealand has so far failed to lock down steps to meet our obligations under the Paris Climate Accord, which has been used by politicians David Seymour and Winston Peters to scaremonger about a possible $10 billion price tag for being part of a unilateral effort to not completely destroy the planet we all live on. That price, though, is a worst-case scenario from doing exactly what the government is doing now and not sorting the deal, said Climate Change Minister Simon Watts, seen here wondering if anyone else thinks he looks like a hobbit with shorter hair. "We want to avoid a domino effect, but when everything's under a foot of water and storms are increasing in intensity and occurrence, dominoes tend to float anyway." This week saw the opposition overtake the coalition in the number of members' bills passed into law this term, with the passing of 2 very different bills. Tracy McClellan's bill, which allows victims of violent crimes to provide evidence in trials without needing to be in the room with perpetrators, passed unanimously, while Camilla Bellich's bill to make it illegal to stop staff from discussing their salaries was passed with the help of National, while ex-Parmjeet Palmer, seen here finding out that she can't just throw opposition MPs into jail on a whim, could be heard in the corner screaming, "But workers shouldn't have rights, what do you think you're doing?" The government this week changed tact on their local water done well policy, no longer claiming the cost benefits would be cheaper than the previous Three Waters model begun under the previous government as the law passed its third reading in Parliament. While the coalition has claimed the changes were to ensure local decisions on water infrastructure were possible, Hamilton East MP Ryan Hamilton said the quiet part out loud by going, "Goodbye, co-governance." Labour's spokesperson on local government, Tangi Utikiri, seen here checking if you're enrolled to vote in this year's local body elections, said, "Is that the dude who got into politics as a Destiny Church member because he opposed his mum's stance on legalising prostitution and went to a meeting full of conspiracy theorists who tried to threaten his co-workers with execution over 20-minute city conspiracies? I'm sure he's the balanced voice of reason then." Documents this week revealed that David Seymour ran his response to the UN over the treatment of Māori past Paul Goldsmith, seen here showing the proper pose to take on your knees before writing a hagiography on millionaires to make them look good and humanise them before sending the email. Goldsmith, in his role as Treaty Negotiations Minister, had been looped in early in the process and ended with email messages saying, "Goldie is happy for us to send it." The letter itself called the UN Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples presumptive, condescending, and wholly misplaced, without a single sense of irony from the man who uses his whakapapa links he discovered on a reality TV show as a shield to justify bills, which have led to some of the most mobilised responses the country has ever seen. A former New Zealand soldier was, for the first time ever, convicted this week on charges of espionage after a guilty plea in military court. The soldier, who was directly involved with the creation of a far-right neo-Nazi organisation, pleaded guilty to 3 charges of attempted espionage, dishonestly accessing a computer system and possessing objectionable material understood to be the live stream of the Christchurch terror attack. Said the Foreign Affairs Minister, "Does he need a job when he's out?" As the coalition looks set to introduce a raft of changes to local government, Whakatane councillor Nandor Tantros, seen here giving off cool uncle vibes, has called their proposed list of essential services bizarre since it omits roles currently required under the local government legislation as core services. These include cemeteries, public toilets, community safety, animal control, road safety, building consents, food safety, liquor licensing, gambling premises monitoring, resource consenting, annual plan making, annual reports, long-term plan processes, audits, bylaw reviews, noise control, and health and safety compliance. Said Local Government Minister Simon Watts, seen here wondering what a local board actually is. "Yeah, but speed bumps annoy people, and that's what's important. Enforcing a rates cap makes perfect sense if you ignore all those other things that councils do." This week, the New Zealand Defence Force played host to the US Air Force's largest plane, the C-5M Super Galaxy. The Super Galaxy landed at Auckland's Whenuapai Air Force Base, delivering the first components for the new C-130J Hercules flight simulator. The plane itself has a wingspan of almost 68 metres and can carry just over 381 tonnes. Said a spokesperson for the US Air Force, "This plane has plenty of room for crew. There's 3 lavatories and galleys with ovens and a fridge, and enough room for us to head to the McDonald's drive-thru and pick up President Trump's dinner order on our way back." And finally, last weekend, the 2 Chris's were seen in crisis mode together when asked on stage to dance at an Indian independence event. While Prime Minister Christopher Luxon said he was too busy to take a call of coalition countries against the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, he did say he enjoys a jump to the far right when on stage. Said a spokesperson for the Coalition of the Willing, "We know the contribution New Zealand can make in this effort to stop military aggression. We'll just send them this video and make sure that they leave their embarrassment of being anywhere near a coalition that allows its members to do this to themselves." Right, and that's it for this week's The News. Thanks again for all the support this week. Look after yourself, live long, prosper, and we'll catch you all next time. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.